Welcome to another episode of Daily Interior Design Inspo, where we bring you fresh and affordable ideas to make your living space shine. I am your host, Betsy Helmuth, and today we are diving into a fabulous IKEA hack that has everyone talking. If you are tired of the traditional blanket ladder, this might be the perfect solution for you. Let us get right into it. Remember blanket ladders? They were all the rage a couple of years ago and continue to remain incredibly popular. They are the epitome of sensible storage, as they take up less space than blanket baskets. And you can even show off all your cute blankets. However, if you want to try something new that is a bit more affordable, you might want to consider getting a blanket railing. TikTok creator Kiva Brent was captivated by this $11 IKEA railing that is originally meant for the kitchen, but did not have space for it in that room. So she decided to use it to decorate a corner of her living room instead. And the results are interesting, to say the least. As Brent explains, she was hoping to use it for her blankets, as well as for other decorative objects, like books, hanging plants, and sculptures. Commenters seem divided. Some seem impressed with her creativity, with one saying, "Your ideas are sharp and spot on." On the other hand, several others seem to think that railing does not belong in the living room, and one commenter was blunt. "It is definitely giving bathroom." It might be a controversial idea, but there is definitely something there. And personally, I like the brass finish of the railing much more than I like wooden blanket ladders. If you are looking for a more polished look, this might be the way to go. If you are choosing to opt for a blanket railing over a blanket ladder, but are worried it will look like you grabbed it out of your kitchen or bathroom, you can always style it slightly differently. Consider getting 2 or 3 railings instead and installing them to imitate a blanket ladder, or add sculpture and art around the railing to make it stand out in a different way. There are plenty of options, and at the end of the day, it is all about creating the look that you love. One of my favorite details in my historic home is its original vestibule. In too many Victorian houses, the vestibule has been opened up to add a few square feet to the living room, and that tiny entryway, the only separation between outside and in, is totally lost. I will never understand the purpose of removing it. It is not usable space beyond walking in the front door, so why not let it shine as its own little room? I was fortunate that the vestibule in my 1895 row house had been maintained, including its original tile, or so we have been told, but it felt like a sad little pass-through. It was a space that had potential, that tile, but the tired yellow walls and plain white doors felt underwhelming. There was not even a light in the space. It sat there like a shell of what was probably once a lovely entryway that had somehow been lost to decades of neglect. Letting it shine turned into one of my favorite renovation projects. Here's what I did. When you have original tile that is in decent shape, there is practically a law that you must keep it. I happen to love the sea foam green color of the tile, so I was delighted to work around it. I ordered a slew of wallpaper samples and quickly decided that going dark was the right move for this space. The adjacent living room is the only white room in the entire house, so the contrast is necessary for it to hold its own. A black trellis wallpaper from Rifle Paper Company was the ultimate winner, and it perfectly picks up both the green tones from the tile. The doors got a dark forest green paint makeover. I do not love a white door in any space, so all of the doors on my first floor are painted in this high-gloss Benjamin Moore black forest green, made 50% darker. I wanted it close to black, but still reading as a dark, dark green. The high gloss reflects light, so it does not become overwhelmingly moody. A ceiling medallion was not in the initial plan, but I missed the return window on a medallion that did not work out in another space, so why not? It is small enough for the space and adds a little bit more ornate detail to a room that is designed to feel like a little jewel box. I am not always a more is more person, but it definitely feels right here. And speaking of borrowing from other rooms, when you are a year into a major renovation that has had starts and stops, there are inevitably pieces that were selected then discarded along the way. The light fixture in here is one of them. It was originally chosen for a different space, sat in an unfinished room for months, then finally found its home here. I am a big believer in shopping your home first. You never know what you might have that could complete a styled space, and it saves money over buying another item. I added a brass switch plate and other gilded details. These vintage mirrors and the small brass bow were pieces I had thrifted over the course of our renovation and tucked away for the perfect spot. The sizing of these items is tough. They could easily get lost in a larger room. But in this tiny space, they become darling little details that add a dainty gilded touch to the space. I also added a brass switch plate for the light. While I am usually a fan of wallpapering over outlet covers and switch plates, continuing the gilded look felt right in here. I wish the ring keypad was not here, but alas, modern technology sometimes wins out. On the outside, the final touch was swapping out the tiny house numbers that felt like an afterthought for oversized serif numbers that make a statement and are easier to read. I found these numbers on Etsy, but a word to the wise, make sure you measure. I originally grossly overestimated how big the numbers should be, and thankfully, the Etsy shop owner intervened. Now I have a dramatic entrance to my home, and a space that friends stop and ask about as soon as they walk in. Best yet, the beauty of upgrading a tiny space is that it is almost always budget-friendly and it is quick, and that was definitely true for me. My total cost was around $750. This includes professional wallpaper install, and the project took a weekend to complete, a couple of hours for the wallpaper and an afternoon for the painting.